there are, how is UBS taking some points, yeah, you out. How is UBS separating traditional economics from environmental economics in relation to input and output in that model that you're talking about? And are they?
So why don't we, Alan, why don't you take the context question, and Jeremy, you can take the other softball question.
All right, well, yours truly invented sustainability context back in the GRI days. So we're hanging in there on the 12 principles that you may have noted earlier. It's there. Okay. And we're serious about this. It has been vetted with our steering committee, with our technical review committee, and people are on board. We got to get real about sustainability context. And I would add, meaning we need thresholds and limits and boundaries built into a rating system so that a company can not only report incremental change, better, greater water efficiency, terrific, greater energy reduction, carbon reduction, good, but how does it square with its responsibilities and expectations in a broader threshold or limited situation? I quickly add, this principle applies not only to physical systems, it applies to social systems. If we say that we need a boundary or a norm or a threshold in, say, a living wage, okay, we know what those are. There's plenty of definitions of those. The United Nations defines it. So what's a living wage in Kazakhstan? What's a living wage in China? What's a living this and that? So when we say norm, in the case of a threshold, you can't exceed it. In the case of a physical norm, in the case of a social norm or threshold, it's a bottom. Are you paying a fair wage appropriate to, say, it's going to contribute to poverty alleviation and restore and enrich human capital? So it cuts two ways, and we're serious about it, and we're going to get this right.
I think I'll just add that when you look at these 10, 12 principles, this is a high bar for ratings. We're talking about a game changer for ratings, and I think this is why we need your help. We need companies, we need investors to stand with us so that we can kind of reimagine ratings in the future. Jeremy?
See if I understood the question. You basically want to know how are we implementing some of the ESG metrics today, currently, or how are we using some of the data?
Specifically, we have traditional economics. You look at a financial sheet, you look, balance sheet, cash flow,
Right.
whatever.
Okay.
And then there's the environmental economics, which is different.
Sure. So keeping in mind what I'm about to tell you, I don't manage that portfolio. Okay, I know what is being done. It's not my portfolio. I can't say 100%, just to be clear about that. Currently, they're using ratings, right? And so we're just using like a score from, a couple of different raters. We're just using that, how it fits in. So it's not today, it's not adjusting their cash flows for, say, the impact of water costs or extra waste that they use. So we're not doing that today.
Right, but let's say when Rockefeller took out his first 100 barrels of oil, it cost 1 barrel to get 100 out of the ground. Today, it's 20, I forget the exact number, 20 or 30 times more to put in an environmental oil in to get back out. So what are they part of your modeling system, the amount that comes in environmentally and the amount that comes out environmentally? And I'm just using oil as an example.
Right. Today, I would say today the answer is no. I think that going forward, we hope to be able to add that in. But today, I'd say the answer is no.
So 3 more questions. Paul?
Paul Druckmann from the IRC. I think this is a great initiative and applaud you on all you're doing. Can I just ask, with the different raters, how much on board are they? Have you actually approached them, and are they on side with this?
2 more questions.
Hi there, Matt McCullough with a Canadian organization called Heaven Institute, an NGO working on energy issues. I'm just trying to reconcile, I guess, Bob's comment around access to capital and this great rating system. And with the comments that we've heard over the past couple of days around investors just not asking, any questions around sustainability on quarterly investor calls. And so I just would like some help and sort of, if anyone can sort of see a line of path on how this rating system might be able to start to influence that discussion. Because it's great to talk about, the risk that exists at that sort of high level. But what we're also hearing is the reality is that investors are just not asking asking sustainability-oriented questions outside of the sort of the niche SRI, groups and on investment firms that have some of those ESG indicators. So,
Yeah.
love some help around that.
Thank you, Matt. We'll take one more question.
Over here.
Paul Sheldon with Vital Systems. Yesterday, Meyer Frucker said that NASDAQ is ready to promote a set of standards as soon as the sustainability community decides on what it is. Is this it? Can we consider this conversation over and just adopt this?
Okay. So I'll answer I come from the ratings community, 10 years in the ratings community, and so we've had many conversations with ratings and raters, both issue specific, access to medicine, CDP. CDP is, by the way, a partner with what we're doing, and also what we call kind of multi-issue sustainability ratings. And I'd say, to be honest, it's been mixed. Some raters say, thank you very much, we're doing well, we don't need you. But the majority of raters have said, we want to have, we think this can help. There hasn't been one rater that looked at these principles and said, we don't want to do this. So these are, every single rater that's come to us and said these are principles, and they've had a voice at the table, they have more of a voice at the table. So I think the proof will be at the end of this year when we're done with the accreditation. We'd like to have several, 3 or 4 raters credit to this, and also issue specific. So I think it's also an area where we need the investor support. The more investors that are involved, the easier our job becomes to achieve these principles. So, Bob and Alan?
Yeah, just coming to your question, Matt, about whether or not the questions coming from the investment community will change to the point that they will think that these ratings matter if we include ESG factors. It really has to do with this critical word materiality. If the company performance on ESG is deemed to be material to those investors, then they'll ask questions about it. And a lot of the reasons that the KPMG chart that I showed excited me is that I think it'll become more and more obvious to the investment community that some of those things that were always kind of in the background, behind the curtains, external to the company, that we would call those 10 global sustainability megaforces, may, for some companies, become material to their ability to repay the loans or generate a good return on the investment. And once they creep onto the materiality radar screen, then they're going to want to make sure that they're being properly assessed as to how they're doing on these things. And the rigor around that assessment is what this standard is all about. So I think that as that growing awareness of externalities coming home to roost and becoming material to the performance of the company financially as well as environmentally and socially, that I think the questions will start to include ones that have to do with ESG performance.
Well, on the question of stock exchanges, things are happening in stock exchanges, more so outside the European U.S. nexus and more in the emerging economies. The stock exchanges in Shanghai, in Sao Paulo, in Johannesburg. There's an alert that it's taking various forms. Some are saying you need to do reporting, sustainability reporting, GRI reporting to be for listing requirements. Others, like NASDAQ, are sort of looking at ways of integration, not fully formed, but they're making important noises, I would say. And also in terms of the ratings, in the financial ratings versus the sustainability ratings, in markets generally, and this is not necessarily a stock exchange issue, but certainly we have financial ratings, as you know, and we have Moody's and S&P and S&P and Fitch, the 3 big ones, which have an official imprimatur, a blessing on the part of the U.S. government as being credentialed financial raters. So ratings matter because they, of course, directly affect, in those cases, the cost of capital. If you don't have an AA plus, if you're managing the California pension funds, you won't get near a stock, an issue, a bond, or any other investment that has a B- rating. It's just not going to happen. Okay? We can imagine a day down the road where sustainability ratings emerge as a force. This is aspirational, but the world needs it. As a force exactly equivalent to financial ratings do for issues. And that day may not be that far away. We can imagine that. And in fact, we can imagine something even more astonishing, which is there's down the road a convergence between financial ratings, even in a broader view than not just credit on a stock issue or an IPO, but a broader rating of a company as the unit of analysis, along with sustainability ratings over here, just as in IIRC is seeking that marriage between the sustainability and the financial reporting, why not seek a similar marriage between the financial rating and the sustainability rating in the future, so that we have a conversation 5 years from now at the Series conference, and the conversation is about, look, there's only one way to look at performance of companies, and that's holistically. Performance is performance. It's not just about financial performance, critically important, of course, but it's about human capital performance and social capital performance and all the other capital performance blended into a holistic view of what performance really means. That can happen. That's within reach.
So we have time for one more question, and then we'll leave you with a video.
Hi, Steve Shine, professor at Southern Oregon University. I guess my question goes to trying to reconcile Bob's question about context and Bill's comments on the latest on climate science and Alan's comments that we're looking at an opportunity where capital will effectively be denied from the companies that have the lowest rating. So can any of you see a scenario where the biggest carbon extractors will start to lose their access to capital, both through Wall Street capital and through public markets, if the latest in climate science is really as urgent as Bill described it yesterday?
Thank you. One more question? In the back?
I just really appreciate the comment that was made about Moody's and Fitch, and I'm wondering if you're engaging with them.
Okay. Quick answer.
Quick answer, engagement is we're starting to. You know, S&P now has dabbled with ESG in its ratings framework. There's people in the room that know more about that than I do, although I've read documents. So there's a slow awakening, I would say, at least on the S&P side. Moody's and Fitch, I'm not. But we're increasingly will talk to them, because I think they're obviously hugely important. And the problem with the ratings, financial ratings, we only have to look back the last 5 years. Someone asked me before this meeting, well, those guys don't have a standard. There's no GISR standard for financial ratings. I said, you're darn right there isn't. And look what happened. Okay, so we can rise above the fray, if you will, with sustainability ratings, put out a good standard. Everyone will know what excellence in sustainability ratings means, and let's invite the financial side to do the same thing or join us in an integrated approach.
I'll just add to that. Everything that we're doing becomes a public good. So the principles, issues, and indicators go on our website, ratesustainability.org, and you'll see that, and it'll be free, and it'll always be freely and publicly available. So I think, we'll end by showing you this last video, and another question.
Question about trying to reconcile sustainability context with carbon extraction and how quickly this latest rating system will impact access to capital for the big petroleum companies.
Why?
Well, as Bill McKibben said, if the business model is based on unsustainable extraction, unsustainable means climate destabilization, then within the principle, under the rubric of sustainability context, that ought to be, that's the instrument, that's the portal into capturing that threshold, which is threatening all of us, planet included.
Thank you.
Show this video.
There are over 100 ratings out there right now that cover environmental, social, and corporate governance considerations. Too many surveys leads to too many indicators, too much confusion among investors and companies. It doesn't have to be this way. What we're going to have is a new standard for measuring corporate sustainability performance, for helping us better price risk, for moving markets to more sustainable outcomes.
You have to have a more expansive view, because if share price is achieved at the expense of other forms of capital, such as human capital, natural capital, social capital, then there's a problem.
We're an economy that privatizes gains, socializes losses, and underpriced risk.
What we want for the future, not just for the prosperity of companies and for business and their shareholders, but for the planet, is a reinterpretation of the meaning of value. And one instrument for doing that is to build a rating system that has credibility and legitimacy and is rooted in these multiple forms of capital.
The GISR standard can serve as a compass for investors to accelerate the integration of ESG factors into investment decision making.
So we want to influence those who hold the purse strings. If we can do that, we can explain to them, convince them that this value proposition of multiple capitals is the essence of long-term prosperity for business and long-term competitiveness, we will have achieved the big prize. We're engaged with companies, and we want, at the end of the day, to make a difference in their lives, in their businesses, with ratings that are credible and transparent and useful.
For NGOs, GISR standard become part of this shared voice for defining excellence in corporate sustainability. We urge you to look at the standard, lend your voice to it. Please join with us today.
So thank you, everyone, for your time. We really